This is Liam Wild, and you're listening to Wild Stories, where we unpack wild stories. Today, this is going to be a personal story of mine that's going to go back to university days. Specifically, university football days, where I had a fun time running the Atlantic University Conference with my teammates. We had quite the run. So, just to give you a little bit of context, is that I played 5 years of university football. Now, in that 5 years, we accomplished 4 conference championships. Myself personally, I had an all-star year. I was also a captain. We went through a whole global pandemic, so we definitely did a lot in that period of time. As well as, not to mention, I did get my degree as well. However, this one is going to come from my last year of football at St. FX. And this one is going to be a story about getting your get back. And it's not necessarily about revenge, but it's a story about losing, failing, having a bad game, and doing the right steps so that the next time you're out there, you would succeed. So let's go back in time for a second here. This was my last year of football. It was the 2023 season, and we were winning every game, and it was pretty fun. It was pretty fun. Now we are at the last game of the season, so we're in the number 1 in the standings. We know we're going to playoffs. We're going to playoffs. We know who we're going to face as well based off the seeding. And it's actually the team that we're going to play for the last game of the year on the schedule, the regular season. So we knew who we were going up against. It's a small conference. I know what receivers I'm going up against. There's usually about 3 of them that I would go up and guard. To give you a little bit of perspective and context, I played corner. So cornerback, that's the position that guards the wide receiver. So the wide receiver is the receiver that's farthest wide. So what can happen is that they can just put one receiver on one side and then the rest all on one other side. So what that means is that it's just mano-a-mano, 1v1. And they call that putting you on an island if you're a corner. So I was a boundary corner, so if we're looking at the field as hash marks, I was always at the shortest side of the field. So I had a little bit less room to cover, but that means I had to be quicker because it was closer to the quarterback. So it was an exciting position to play, but it had a lot to do with technique as well as athleticism and just preparation in general. You had to know kind of what type of routes you were going to see that day. What attributes did that receiver have that, they're going to try to exploit? So that was all very important. And if you knew anything about me when I played football, as well as in my life, is that I like to be prepared. I don't want to ever step into a situation where I have no idea what I'm doing. So I always watched a tremendous amount of film. Now, that film, it would help me understand what kind of little tells from the receiver, from the quarterback, just from the offense in general, would be able to, give me an advantage. What could I learn, right? And I had done a lot of research, and I usually would just play over top on receivers that would be taller than me, right? Because if I play over top, they're going to try to put it over me. I'm going to be there already. It's going to be harder for them to make the play. And usually smaller receivers, I know if I'm faster than them, sometimes I'll just kind of play them a little bit more head up, a little bit more inside shade, just so I can kind of use my length and my speed on them. So the receiver that I was going up against this week, he had been on a tear. So what I mean by he was on a tear is that this gentleman had probably scored a touchdown in the last 4 games. And they had him out on an island pretty consistently. He was just a mano-a-mano with the other corner from other teams in the conference. Now, he was on a tear, like I mentioned. So I was thinking, like, I'm not going to play this guy like everyone else. I'm going to go, I'm going to give myself the challenge here. We're number one in the league. Like, let's see what I can do. Athlete versus athlete, right? Now, we drove down there. It was an away game. It was Friday Night Lights. And believe this as well, this is the first game that my now partner came to see. So I had a little bit something else in it too. Like, I wanted to absolutely succeed so I could kind of show her that, I'm pretty good at this football thing. I'm not just a bench warmer, right? So, I had a little bit of pressure on myself, which is okay. There's nothing wrong with a little bit of pressure on yourself. That's important. A little bit of stress is important to getting the best out of you. So, we get to the game and warming up. I'm feeling pretty good, but I know that I have a challenge ahead of me. And I'm playing this receiver, and they just go straight to the deep balls. And the first one, what had happened was that our offense, I think they fumbled the ball or something. There was a turnover, and it was in our end right from the beginning. And I hop onto the field, and it's the first play I'm on the field for. And it's just island, me and this other receiver. And mind you, this receiver is probably like 6'4". I'm maybe 6 foot, 5'11", 3/4, that kind of deal. And they just lofted up there. Just a moon ball. And I'm trying to play through the hands, but he's big, tall, and he grabs it, and I just can't knock the ball out. It's a touchdown. This was not a great way to start the game, obviously. However, it was the very beginning of the game, so what was important for me is that maybe as a younger player, I would kind of lose my cool, but I knew that there was a lot of football left. So I had to go to the sideline, I had to reset, act like that play never happened, goldfish mentality, learn from your mistakes, so take what I needed to take out of that. I was playing it, if what I usually told myself as a corner was that if the receiver made a play, it was probably my fault. Because it was either a technique thing that I should have done better, or really that's what it was. Or it could be the receiver just made a fantastic play. And, that guy, he made a great play. But it was also the first time I was on the field, so I don't think that I was really moving my feet as fast as I could have. I probably could have been in a better position. I probably should have expected that ball to come and play it over top a little bit more. So going forward in the game, I'm like, all right, that's probably going to happen a little bit more. And for some reason, I wasn't playing over top as much, is that I was coming down and challenging him, like pressing. And because he had really long arms, he's kind of giving me a little move, and then he'd like grab me a little bit and then pull me off the line. And, grabbing is not really allowed, but they're not really going to call that, especially at the line. So what had happened again when I got on the field is that they threw another deep ball, and he kind of beat me at the line, and then he made a one-handed catch. Okay, now I'm like, all right, they're picking on me. That's not good. I don't want to be picked on. But it'll come back to bite them in the ass. So they play I think the first half of the game is kind of done. And then we're getting to the third quarter, and they go right back to me. Same play. It's just a nice deep ball. And I saw it coming, so I played over top, but I had my hand over here, And it was apparently I grabbed his wrist for a second. I don't know. I thought it was a little bit of a weak call because they threw a PI flag. Even though I had tipped the ball, hit the ground, came up like that, flag, pass interference. I'm thinking, man, this isn't fair. This isn't fair. Well, you got to keep on rolling with it. At this point in time, I'm thinking, fuck, I'm having a bad game. Well, let's try to finish this off the right way. So, the game ends, we did win. And I had gotten a ball deflected and like a PB, and I had gotten a few tackles and everything, but it was probably my worst game ever. I hadn't had someone score a touchdown on me in a really long time. And it hurt. Going right into playoffs, we had won. I didn't even play the end of the fourth quarter because we kind of blew them out, but it was no good. And I realized that I had to reflect a little bit on what I could have done better. And my coach, my position coach, I would always watch film with him. So I went and I watched film with him, and everyone knows, because the thing about being a corner as well is that, like, if you get picked on and you have a bad game, like, everyone knows. It's not one of those positions where it's like if you have a bad game, it goes kind of subtly unnoticed. Oh, everyone knows. So I watched the film with him, and he's just blown with me. He's like, yeah, he got you. He beat you. What are you going to do this week? You can't let that happen again. And I'm not really used to this because, keep in mind, I've been an all-star corner. I've been doing really well over the last 2 years. And I've gone up against this guy before and beat him. Like, mentally destroyed him at times. But he was obviously very confident at that point in time. So I realized this has to be a huge get-back game. I'm going to prepare like I have never prepared before. Even though I always prepared. I always took a lot of time to make sure that I was in the right mindset and had everything down to succeed in the game. And what I did for that week coming up, because we're going to play them again in playoffs, was profound. I had never really meditated that much, but I knew that I needed to get my mind right. Because what can happen is you take your L, you lose, and it damages your confidence. And I had to go against the guy next week. It could have gone terribly again. And that's in the back of my mind, is that I cannot let that happen. But more or less, I need to ensure that my mental frame isn't focused on him, but instead myself. And focusing on how I can be the best possible me, because I've been in the position before where I've won the battle. And most of the battles I did win. So I chose to really dive into meditation. And then there was a room in one of the buildings in the university that was meant for praying, meditation. I went there every day and I listened to the same guided meditation from a sports psychologist. And it really calmed me. It really did. It really made my confidence fall back into me that I didn't think about anything else. Even though everyone's kind of thinking going into this game, they're concerned. I could tell. I knew people would be concerned about how I would bounce back from this. If I did bounce back from this. Because ultimately, if I don't, my backup is good. He's not a backup. He's another starter in waiting. And as a leader, I needed to show up for my team. And I needed to show myself a standard as well, that I would not allow myself to lose 2 weeks in a row, because I already know what I need to do to fix my mishaps. Because I knew it was coming back to me. I knew what they were going to do again. So I really focused on strengthening my mindset before this next game. Meditation. It was huge. It was massive. Getting my body right. Massages. Priming my body with isometric exercises, jogs, as well as, of course, practice. You need to work on your craft every day. This goes without saying in sports and in business and in any labor of love. You need to work on your craft. Whether that's reading, writing, making those sales calls, whatever you are and that you want to succeed in and be world class in, you need to work on that on a daily basis. I was not gifted athletically to play D1 or anything, even necessarily U Sports football. Was I athletic? Yes. But I went in to university at about 145 pounds. A lot of that came from skill. That I would go to the field and I would take my shoes off, put my cleats on, and I would just use my shoes as cones. If I didn't go out to the field and train with other people, I would do whatever it took to make sure that I did my backpedaling, that I did my footwork. I put duct tape in my parents' garage and made a ladder so I could do footwork drills in there. I would watch highlight reels from some of the best to ever do it. Darrelle Revis, Jalen Ramsey. The list goes on. I studied everyone's game because I knew I wanted to be the best. I knew that I wanted the starting position and to thrive in it, to be an all-star, to be in contention and be an all-star and all-Canadian. And if the stars aligned, play professionally. Now that didn't happen, and that's okay. But I know for a fact that in my football career, I gave it everything I possibly could to actually get to that point. And I did it. And that's just how it goes. It's a hard thing. It's unforgiving. It's a business. The game of football will love you until it doesn't love you back. But you'll always love it if you're truly a fan. If you're truly in love with the game like I was, and I still am, just in a different way now. It's not the same passion because I don't play it anymore. I love to watch it. I love to analyze it. But it's a different passion now. And that goes without saying different things throughout your life as well. But moving on with the story, I also read a book, The 4 Agreements. I wanted to make sure that I finished that book before the next game, almost as like, you can do it. Just to reinforce how serious I was about mentally preparing for this upcoming playoff game. Now, it's Saturday. It's next week. We're at home. It's playoffs. I'm feeling good because I've taken the preparation. My routines have been impeccable. I've digested new knowledge in my brain by reading a new book. And I know who I'm going up against. It's the second time in 2 weeks. So it's time to play ball. And the other thing is whoever loses this game, you go home with nothing. There's no championship. Your season's over. And I dang sure knew that was not going to be us. We were too good. We went undefeated. This was our year. But if I didn't perform, I'm in a pivotal position. So they're on offense. And it's the first play of the game. What do? They throw that deep ball. Who's there? Me and him. And I had played this over top. I opened my hips, and I was like the receiver on the play. And I went up, and then I got tugged back. The guy had grabbed the back of my jersey and threw me to the ground to prevent the interception. And the whole bench goes crazy. Even though it probably should have been a penalty and it never got called, the whole bench went crazy because they knew how much that would mean to me. To make that play after I got, exploited the week before. And that's what I needed. I needed to start that game hot because it kept on going. We talk about flow state a lot. And I think flow state is most evident, visibly evident in sports. When you watch a UFC fight or an NFL game, right? And you're seeing this quarterback, let's say, and he's 10 for 10. He's throwing 2 touchdowns and just scrambling and just like you'll see Josh Allen take over a game or Patrick Mahomes do these incredible things. That's flow state. It's so natural to them because they have the innate talent and then they get into the groove and then the moment. And the moments just, they go into slow motion for them. And if you've ever been in flow state, that's kind of how it went. Now, I actually got in flow state in this game. And I've been in flow state in other games before too. This is what they call like in the zone. And I played games where, you got to get in the zone, right? But there's different levels to being in the zone. I think athletes would agree with this. Sometimes when you have a great game, you're like, dude, I was in the zone. And there's other games where you weren't quite in that zone. And you had an okay game, or the ball maybe didn't come to you that much. So it didn't allow you to get into that flow state. But when the stakes are the highest, that's when legends prevail. That's when people that can enter that flow state excel. And I believe that the meditation and the mental preparation allowed me to enter that flow state in a way that I had not entered it previously. Going forward in the game, it was a battle. It was the same guy, and I was on punt, and then they even put him as the guy to block me on punt, the anti-gunner they called him. So I'm just trying to run down the field and tackle the returner, and he's trying to block me. So it was quite a battle between him and I. There was one play that I want to talk about where at this point they weren't really going back to him because I think they had realized that I was in the flow state. I was playing really well. I was on top of everything. But they had gotten into the red zone. And when they had gotten into the red zone, it was like the first play of the last game. It was 1v1. I'm isolated on one side. But this time I took a little bit of a different approach technique. I went inside shade a little bit. I was squared up. And mentally, I was just more into the game already and in that flow state. And he faked a fade. Like the last time we were in that position, he went deep and caught the ball kind of over me. But this time he faked it and he went inside and did a slant. And I hit that slant so hard that I hit the ball and him at the same time when it was coming in. And I got up and I was so fired up until I saw a flag go up. And at this time, I'm like, I was there at the perfect time. And the refs came together and they picked the flag up. There's another time in that game where they tried to throw another deep ball and I was over top of it. And he's just grabbed like it's a hand fight. There's so much pass interference going on, but the refs had literally told us, he's like, we're going to let you guys play. Because even the refs knew what kind of battle it was going to be that day. At the end of the game, we were going to win. That's what it was looking like at the end. And he got taken out. Like, I think he may have gotten hurt, but he didn't finish the game. And there was no visible sign during the game where he went on a knee or anything like that. I think that the way I played in that game and the way I approached it, I affected his mindset. So never underestimate the preparation. No matter how much you feel like you might have a disadvantage, or if you've already lost in a previous situation or failed in a previous situation, prepare, fortify your mind. And if you fortify your mind and do the necessary steps to succeed, and use your support system, people you trust their opinion, life is all about different opportunities. That is an opportunity for you to prevail after failure. And that's really the underlying theme, is that I went and got my get back. I failed, and then we won the next game, even though we had won the one before. But I had a much better game. And even in the meetings the day after, my head coach shouted me out and said, I want to shout out Liam Wild for his game and, locking down those deep balls. I think the entire team knew what that game meant for me. And even in my exit interview at the end of the year, my defensive coordinator said, I'm just so proud of you because of that game, how you bounced back. He said the Liam Wild 3 years ago, I don't know if he would have been able to. That might be a story for another day, because my mind, I'm not a master of my mind quite yet, but at that point in time, I definitely was not. I believe I was somewhat of a head case. I was someone that thought I needed to be perfect all the time. perfect, it's a concept that is not very achievable, or rarely, if ever, achievable. That's why you hear no one is perfect. Everyone's got things that they need to work on. If you do not have things that you need to work on to improve, life is dull. Life is meant to be hard and to persevere through these hardships to improve and get better. And my football experience, I'll tell more stories, it really showed me that. And that one specifically is probably my proudest moment of bouncing back and getting my get back. If you have stories about getting your get back and using mental fortitude and preparation to ensure that you did get your get back, I'd love to hear them. Comment them down below. Thank you so much for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed this, and I will be continuing to post. I appreciate everyone.